Hi, welcome to another episode of When We Heal, the World Heals. I'm Trish Hay. So excited to have my guest today, River Braun. He is a queer embodiment coach and founder of the Million Hearts meditation movement. And that really fired me up and excited me to find out about that. And that's kind of how I got into your world a bit more. And I wanted you to be on here to share more about that, please. And your path that brought you to creating that. So
Thank you,
welcome.
Trish. Thank you. It's fantastic to be here and to see you again. Um, yeah, so am, I did found the Million Hearts meditation. It came about, uh, almost a year ago. I was sailing across the Pacific, headed to Hawaii, and just a lot of just spiritual downloads under the stars. And this came to me, this leading a million people in meditation because the effects of everyone coming together in that kind of a space was just magnificent and can actually and has scientifically been shown to lead to uh, many good effects in the local community where community meditations have begun. And so I thought, you know what, let's do this. That's great. And I thought, 2025 sounds like a good time to do this. And so I actually began late last year in trying to gather people to do community meditations. And it's a monumental process, to be sure. Um, but it's something that I believe in really strongly. Um, the world that we're living in right now has got so much fear in it. There's so much hurt in our lives, and unfortunately, the powers that be are using that hurt to increase the amount of fear, to just get people on guard and on the offensive, to where they're making decisions that honestly I don't think that they would make if they were coming from a space of healed wholeness. And so that's a big part of why I want to do the Million Hearts meditation and where I'm coming from with that.
Yeah, I was excited when you first started it. It was before the election too, just to get everyone like leading with love. And can you share a little bit about, I know I heard you speak before about the Maharishi effect and how they've scientifically proven how, meditating together really can change the community and the world. And
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's study, probably over 50 studies that I saw on, like there was one in Washington, D.C. where they meditated for, I don't know how long. It was, I think, over the course of a week. And there were about 3,000 people in Washington, D.C. that were meditating together. And they did a study of the crime rates in that area over the course of, I don't know, probably the last 5 years, and saw that all of these rates were really high, and then after the meditation happened, those rates went statistically relevant or statistically significant decreases in the crime levels there. And they've done the same thing all over the country and all over the world. There are people who do community meditations and report in on those results constantly. And so that's just, I mean, it's amazing what the power of even a few people, what was it, 1% of the Maharishi effect. Do you remember that number? Blanking off the top of my head
yeah, it
right
was
now.
like 1% of, I do remember it was a small amount of people. I can't remember the exact number, but I know it is it's surprisingly small, the amount of people that can affect the whole world by just
Yeah, yeah.
by meditating at the same time and in the same field. And so getting and it was less than a million. I know that. And you're trying to get a million people meditating at once. So I was like, yes, if we get a million, and it's like, woo, let's get more.
Yeah.
But Yeah, to gather a million, I think is
Yeah, the first one we did, I think had about 100 people, and I mean, that was just one of those pie in the sky kind of things. Like, okay, I've got 3 weeks. What can I do? How can I pull this off?
Mhm.
And we got about 100 people, which I think was good. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if we had all those 100 people in one city, I think we would see in that within that city a positive effect. Um, and so, my vision is to kind of like let's have pods of like 10,000 or 20,000 people and see what we can do. They just did a 10,000 person meditation in India at the beginning of, I think, last year. And I
Really
don't know if they did any studies about the crime rates around there, but um, we'll have to circle back to that.
awesome. Well, for people that want to join the Million Hearts meditation, of course, I'm going to link all your stuff here, but can you share a little bit about how that works, how they can join, remotely from wherever they are in the world?
Absolutely. So I hold monthly meditations the first Sunday of the month at 8 a.m. Pacific, and with the goal of recruiting as many people as possible that we can kind of have a logarithmic effect to get a million people like by the end of the year, I think would be an amazing feat. We'll see if we can do that or not, but that's the goal. And I have historically been streaming on YouTube, which I will continue to do. But right now, I also want to bring it into Zoom because I want to see people's faces. It's a little bit lonely just talking out to YouTube. So I want to get people together and have that community of people meditating together so we can see each other. So I will be offering that, and you can register either on Eventbrite or Meetup, and just type in Million Hearts Meditation, and you will find me. And yeah, it's free to join, and you'll get all of the links and info to register.
Awesome. Yeah, let's get as many people come on with us and then invite your friends, invite your family, and like just keep multiplying it. I got to do it with you, and it was extremely beautiful. Like for me, just as I got a lot out of it, a lot of peace from it. And then I could feel that energy because when you are meditating with other people, you can feel it. You can feel a difference in just for yourself. It's amplified. So do it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah,
Everyone join for you, but join for the world, please too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the world needs more healing and more love. And I love that you're doing that with your podcast.
Yeah. I love that. I love what you're doing too. It's like, I think a lot of us right now are jumping in to do whatever we can to, like you said, spread the love and the healing. And it makes a difference meditating uh, for yourself, obviously, like just meditating for yourself, even if we're not doing the same time, it is affecting those around us
Mhm.
and it's going to make you feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I started meditating, I would say about 10 years ago regularly.
Mhm.
And yeah, it started with, oh my God, can I really get to 10 minutes? That's a long time of sitting still and not thinking about anything. And can I really do that? And now it's like, okay, I'll sit there for an hour. I sat for 4 hours the other day
Wow.
meditating. Yeah, I needed it. This the political climate was getting to me a little bit, and I just needed to take some time and just not think about anything for a while. And so yeah, it's kind of a reset for me, and I think it is for a lot of people.
Yeah. Meditation completely changed my life. I first learned transcendental meditation and it really healed me. I mean, I was just doing it twice a day. I still do it twice a day, but I was calling in, doing it as the group too. And it's like, it started, my mind was very noisy at first. Then it finally, which is also fine, you're still getting the effect. But then when you can get those quiet moments, it's like,
Hmm.
oh,
Yeah, those little moments in between the thoughts that just I don't know. I don't know how it feels for other people, but for me, like there's just like this flow of energy that runs through me that just feels so cleansing.
yes.
And then the thought comes in and it kind of jars me out, and then I can get back to it. And it's pretty amazing. And yeah, I mean, meditation, I feel like helps. ground me for the rest of the day and refreshes me in the afternoon. So
Hmm.
yeah, a lot of times I'll just be trying to force my way through something and just going, you know what? I've said before, I'm going to finish this and then I'll meditate. And it's like, if I meditate, I'll be able to finish this a lot better. And it's always the case, you know?
It's true. And it feels better after, and you do it. Like for me, I've experienced that too. It's like your mind is like calmer. So you like get it done in more of a peaceful flow state too, instead of like,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
totally, totally. So, okay, awesome. So, everybody, come on, Million Hearts Meditation. And I'm going to put River's social on here and also Million Hearts Meditation, also to follow on Instagram, follow along, spread the message, get as many people as possible. And
yes.
yes, change the world, change yourself and change the world. Heal yourself and heal the world. There we go with our
There you go. Exactly.
podcast.
Yeah,
Okay. I'd also like to ask some about the work that you do. You work with the LGBT community. I know you're a somatic coach. Can you explain a little bit about what you do, how you came to it, and things like that?
sure.
Thank you.
So I am a somatic embodiment coach. I have certifications from the Embodiment Lab, the Embody Lab, which I don't know if you're familiar with that. The Dr. Scott Lyons created it, and it's just a fantastic resource for
Okay.
anybody in the healing arts. So essentially what I do is I work with people who are experiencing trauma from their past. I work a lot with people with anxiety, a lot with procrastination, which is kind of it's a defense mechanism that we've picked up throughout the past, and it keeps us more stuck than I think most things do. So procrastination, anxiety, anything that is triggering or being triggered by these past traumas, I help people work through them. And as opposed to therapy, like talk therapies, cognitive behavioral therapy, and all of the other talk-based therapies, which take kind of a top-down approach. You're trying to understand your thoughts and change your thoughts with trauma that's living in your body. And so I work with the body and working with things like sensations and feelings and doing movement and breath work and of course meditation and even manifestation to help people embody the life that they want to have. So I kind of take the approach of, okay, where are you at right now? Where do you want to be? What's keeping you stuck? And we go from there. And so we're really able to get in and say, okay, yes, I had this trauma happen to me, and I can feel it here in my heart, and there's just this crushing feeling, and I just feel like I want to die. And we can just take a pause, and start working with that feeling and kind of um, just take it from a standpoint of, okay, we're here in a safe space, we're not there, but we can kind of witness it. And so that's where meditation is really helpful in awakening that witness. So that witness to those thoughts that we're having,
Mhm.
and then connecting that to, okay, I've got this pain that's right here. Well, what are you seeing there? Well, it's reminding me of when I was 5 and this happened and things like that. So it's quite effective. And I got into it, um, gosh, a number of years ago. My wife and I were living on a sailboat and sailing not entirely around the world, but sailing throughout the world. And I thought that was going to be what I was going to do for the rest of my existence. And all of a sudden, I started having all of these obstacles thrown in my way. And I was thinking, oh, what's going on? I'm trying to do this. It's like I said earlier, I'm trying to push through something. I've got to meditate in order to get through it. Kept trying to push through it. And finally, I just stopped and I said, okay, universe, what are you trying to tell me? What needs to happen? And I got the message that, okay, this time is over. This 7 years that you've spent tooling around the world and doing this, you needed to do, absolutely needed to do it, but that time is over. You need to do something different. And I was like, okay, well, what does that look like? Um, so we sold our boat and moved back on land, and I just started exploring. And one of the things that had happened was that I was in a hurricane in Florida, and our boat was there, and that was like all we had. That was our house, that was our everything. And we are in Hurricane Ian, and so that was particularly traumatic for me. And I remember in the days after driving from the hotel I was at in Naples up to Fort Myers and just witnessing the absolute devastation. I've
Mm.
got video that just is just heartbreaking, and I'm sitting here just going, okay, these people's houses are gone. These people have nothing. I can probably I can get through this. I know I can get through this, but I know that my house is probably destroyed too. Um, so going through that, it turns out our house wasn't completely destroyed. It was damaged. We had to do some things that affected our lives. But I mean, compared to everybody else, I'm sitting here going, I have no reason to be feeling this devastation because this did not happen to me. This happened to all these other people.
Mm.
And then during that time, my jaw started locking up. And I was in a great deal of pain. I was having issues with my dentist. They wanted to just rip my jaw open and just force that issue. And I talked to a friend of mine who was a somatic body worker that I started working with, gosh, probably 15, 20 years ago. And I said, look, I really don't want to have my jaw ripped open, but I don't know what to do. Can you help me? And she said, yeah, absolutely. And so she worked with me, got in there and did, some of this. But while she was doing that work with the muscles in my body and my face, images of the hurricane aftermath came up. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. And so she got done doing that, and we just kind of sat and talked. And she said, what is that bringing up for you? And I said, it's bringing up a lot of anxiety for me. Like I'm scared, and I also have this feeling of I don't have the right to have these feelings that I'm having because other people had it much worse.
Mm.
And she said, well, still, what did what did your boat mean to you? And I said, it meant freedom to me. And then this, just image popped up in my mind. Like when I was growing up, all I wanted to do was run away. I always wanted to escape because I was not accepted for who I was. And I know a lot of people have that experience. And so just going through and having that realization that, there's this trauma of not being accepted combined with this need to always be like, okay, can I get out of this situation? Was being brought up just from this hurricane, and it would just completely locked this area up.
Wow.
And so as a result of just I think 2 or 3 days of us doing that and talking, that resolved the issue with the jaw, and it also resolved a lot of the pent up anxiety and tension that I was having around this experience of not being able to get away.
Wow.
Um, and so I said, this is fascinating, by the way. And so I started doing more research into what somatics what embodiment meant. Started reading "The Body Keeps a Score" by Bessel van der Kolk. Um, when the body says no, all of these
Yeah.
seminal works by people who understand that the body is where we're holding this trauma and the trauma of our parents and our grandparents.
Yeah.
And it just fascinated me. So I started taking classes and started getting certified. I got certified in integrated somatic um, trauma therapy, uh, polyvagal theory in yoga, mind body coaching. And I've dedicated to working with the LGBTQ community. I work with other people as well that resonate with what I do. But primarily, I am helping the community that I'm a part of because right now there's a lot of there's a lot of trauma from our past, and there's a lot of trauma happening right now. And so I just want to help people get through it in the best way that they can and live a life that they want to live, and as opposed to the life that other people want to impose on them.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing all that. It's incredible, like that the body does keep the score, like you said, and so many people don't have the gift of working with someone like you to where they can find out what's the origin of that, and then things just keep getting worse, right? The pain, the whatever. And it's like, um, to me, like the people that have gone through that and experienced it, and then they've healed and then gone on to be like healers of other people. That's like who I really like to work with because I feel like they really know they transformed. So I think
Yeah.
that's really beautiful that you felt called and learned more about it. And you shared about not feeling really free to be when you were young. Is that linked to being part of the LGBT community, or is that just or something else if you want
Yeah.
to expand upon it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was 4 years old, and I still don't know how I remember so much from my early childhood that most people say they don't know. But I remember being 4 years old and telling my parents that I was a boy. And I always wanted to shop in the boys section. Had gone to preschool and saw that, oh, boys do this and girls do this. And okay, I'm going over here. So I told them that I was a boy. And back in the 70s, like there wasn't a whole lot of language, especially in like the blue collar community that my family was in. There wasn't a lot of language around transgender people. And so they didn't know about it. I certainly didn't know about it, but they just kind of laughed at me, thought it was cute, and I got really embarrassed.
Oh,
Um, and so, I kind of withdrew into myself and tried to assert my will in how I dressed to what I could. But I was trying, my parents wanted a daughter, and they were going to put me in dresses. And I went to a Christian school where we had to wear dresses for chapel on Friday, and
oh,
I absolutely hated it. It was physically devastating to me. And as I got older, I would, try to get my hair cut and try to dress the way I wanted to. And I was just constantly ridiculed. Like, no, this is not how you behave, and this is how you're going to dress. This is how you're going to look. And that's that. And so having that just feeling of God, what is wrong with me? I just felt so shameful. That was really hard for a kid to deal with. And then, you know, it wasn't until, gosh, I was probably in my 30s that the language around transgender people came into being. Like I had heard of male to female transgender people, and that made sense to me. But for some reason, it never switched around to women who uh, not wanted to be, but were felt that they were men, and it just never really occurred to me until then. And I started working with the Trevor Project. Just got a whole education from working with them, and you know what? This is actually who I am. Like all of this came out. I had some. My partner of 10 years died. I had my father die, and I had my grandmother die, like all within a year.
oh,
And all of the things that I had swallowed, all of the pain and the emotion that I had just shoved down, all came out, and that came out with it. This reminder of you've been hiding for many, many years. And so I ended up getting into a relationship with somebody who was very safe, and I was able to share that. And she said, "Whatever you need." And I said, "Okay, well, here we go." And I was able to transition and just heal all of that. Well, I feel like there was just this black sludge inside me,
oh,
and being able to transition and to actually have the appearance and that just felt like me, being able to look in the mirror and go, "Oh, there you are." was just so transformative. And for people who aren't able to do that, it breaks my heart.
Mhm.
I understand why people don't. It costs sometimes, uh,
Mhm.
as far as families go. Like I lost some members of my family, and that was hard. That was devastating. Um, but yeah, having somebody who can relate to that and to connect with that and to kind of walk you through that, I think is really crucial. So that's part of the reason I do what I do.
Wow. That's that's beautiful. That's amazing. Like, can you explain a little bit about, because I think that there's a lot of people that they don't know a trans person, or at least they don't realize they know a trans person. And then there's all this political stuff that people hear about it. And a lot of stuff is just like so not true, about that I've heard, like they're converting kindergartners and all sorts of crazy stuff. And it's like it's so as far as that, like if I don't know if you could just put in words a little bit, what does it feel like to be um in the world, people seeing you as when they saw you as female, as a woman, like how did that feel? I think you kind of identified it with all this legend stuff, but like versus now being able to, you know, have, you know, present differently, you changed your name, I believe, right? And all
Mhm.
of that too. Like how
Yeah.
how does that feel in your body and soul to just be like, this is me, like you're saying? Like, can you kind of share a little bit? Because I think people just don't understand, and I want people to understand more, like how much this means to people. Like, you know, just I have just heard, and so you could speak more because you're in the community about people are suicidal over this. I mean, it's huge for people to not be able to transition and be who they are just born to be.
Yeah. For me, and I can't speak for everybody, but for me, it was a huge energy draw for me to constantly feel like I had to put on this act. And I remember having friends, girlfriends, and going, okay, this is how I need to dress. Like I would have them go shopping with me and show me how to be feminine and um, how to put makeup on, and just all of the like I was acting and I
Mhm.
was trying to embody this feminine ideal, uh, and it was exhausting. So constantly trying to go, okay, am I feminine enough? And I constantly from my mom got this thing of, you look like a linebacker with whatever it was I was wearing, and I'm like, well, I'm
Oh,
sorry, I look like a linebacker. You birthed me. I don't know. So constantly trying to be like feminine and be attractive to, whoever I was wanting to be attractive to. Um, a lot of energy expended, a lot of anxiety around it. And when I was finally able to say, okay, look, I'm going to start socially, I'm going to start dressing as a man. Like I remember being married to my husband in my 20s and being overjoyed that I had the access to this closet full of men's clothes.
oh
And
wow.
so I wore his clothes all the time. Um, which didn't bother him, which was awesome. Um, but being able to see myself in men's clothing was transformative. I remember when I made the decision to transition, my wife Christy took me shopping, and I remember being in the dressing room. She handed me a whole bunch of clothes. She found the gayest uh helper person working there, and she's like, this is what's happening. And he's like, okay, I'm into it. So he found me all of these great clothes and I'm putting them on, and I remember looking in the mirror and going, oh, it was amazing. I mean, I can't like the most transformative experience I had in the dressing room at not a grocery store, but at a clothing store. It's amazing what clothes can do. Um, so that was one thing. Beyond that, when I started being able to express myself as I felt inside, I found myself having a voice. I never wanted to talk when I was presenting as female. Just sit there and be pretty is what everybody expected, and so that's what I did. Um, So having a voice, being able to express who I was, being able to be who I was, attracted other people who wanted to be around me. So I attracted all these amazing new friends who loved me for me, and that was just makes your heart just swell, being able to be loved for who you are instead of judged and rejected. So a lot of judgment, and now less no judgment from the people that matter, but a lot of judgment from society because they're being fed a lot of stupid misinformation about who trans people are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be able to be authentically who you are and be loved and accepted, that's beautiful. Like you said, with who you've drawn in. And,
Mm.
what does it feel like though with society and how, what I guess have you noticed a big change? Um, I mean, I don't know if it, I mean, I've just heard so much about it more the last couple of years. I mean, I've seen documentaries. I know there's always been obviously LGBTQ hate and trans hate and, things like that. But it seems so much more out there. So have you experienced that, hearing about it more, or your clients feeling it more? Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely feeling it more personally.
Mm.
Um, and I know in my head that we're being used as pawns to unite people against something. So most of the time, I don't take it personally. Um, I do know that more and more younger people are calling up helplines because they are really, really feeling it. It's causing a lot of anxiety. I will say that it has caused me some anxiety. Um, I feel like I need to be on high alert or if I need to leave the country. And that's not something I want to do. I hope it doesn't come to that, but it's a real thing. It's a real fear. Like I live in a pretty conservative area, and so while I have the privilege of passing as male for the most part, I you know I take a little bit of comfort in that, but that's a luxury that not everybody has. And so I honestly found somebody on Facebook who was helping a person escape Texas, a trans person escaping Texas. And I said, hey, if there's anything I can do to help, this is what I do. And so, I started working with that person, but I do know that there are people out there that are trying to clean the streets up from transgender people, and that's terrifying. You um, we're just humans trying to live our lives, and everybody thinks that we're all of a sudden a problem, and they're just making it up. um, and
Yeah.
it's not real. All of the things that you're afraid we're going to do is mostly perpetrated by white males, and so if you want to point over there and say it's them doing it, you know all I can do is sit here and say, you know what, I'm a human being and I'm going to treat you like a human being and I'm going to try to get through this with love. So,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
that's the world that we want to live in, where everyone's loved and accepted and honored for who they are. And I can't imagine having that fear like that over you as well. Like, and I know you're older and you've got support system too, but like you're saying, for like teens and young people, like it's got to be really hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with the amount of homeless teens and early 20s that are, no skills, no resources, and they're just trying to survive on a daily basis. It's just that's heartbreaking, and it shouldn't be that way. Nobody should be living like that.
Yeah. I agree. Totally. Yeah. Let's all meditate and do what we can, and then obviously take whatever actions we can with our votes and with our voices, and keep speaking truth,
Mm.
and getting the word out there, like on YouTube or our social media, wherever we can to, to share the truth. Because like you said, there's a political agenda a lot of times that just like attack us, any whatever population. It's a lot of it's just political strategy. And then they, which is even sadder. It's like doesn't senseless, you know, senseless.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, thank you for sharing that. And do you have anything you can share about how, if you could take away the part of you are man, um, versus when you were presenting as female, right, in
Mhm.
society, and go and present as male in society, people that don't, you don't know or whatever. What's the difference in how you're treated what's your experience of the difference between, I guess, how males and females are treated in this country?
It was actually quite eye-opening, to say the least. Being a person that had presented as female for almost 30 years or almost 40 years, I think, to all of a sudden being the white male in the room, and just noticing like you're talking to me about something that actually involves my wife. Why are you not talking to her? Why are you not looking at her? Comments that people make to me that just reek of patriarchy, and I'm just going, why would you say that? And B, like, do you know who I am?
I feel
It's
like you're undercover for us.
oh, it really does feel like that sometimes. And I still feel, aspects of a feminine energy, and I love that. I think feminine energy is amazing, and there has been parts of me in the past that have been like, it's really a shame. I don't know, that that wasn't who I was, because I think women are amazing, and I want women to be in power. In power. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's time,
Yeah.
but yeah, and even I'm in a paddling group, outrigger paddling group that has a lot of older people in it, and I can see where, okay, you're obviously preferring to bring males up into this position versus females, and so I see it as my job, kind of be like, okay, we're going to include this person, we're going to bring the more females in, because we're not, it's not how I want to interact in the world. So yeah, it's just like you said, kind of like an undercover person, just watching and seeing how things interact. And like I said, Christy and I were sailing a lot, and in the sailing community, I mean, that's a lot of old white men for sure. And a lot of times they refer to men as the skippers or the captains, and then the females are the admirals.
Okay.
And I think a lot of women were saying, "Yeah, I'm the admiral," and I'm like, "Don't you see that that's condescending? You're the admiral because they're giving you this fake power because you I don't know. I don't even know why they do it, but calling women the admiral in the community, it's completely condescending." And I
Wow.
told Christy about it, and she said, "Oh my God, you're right. I can't believe we're saying yes to this. No, we're not doing this anymore." But it was just so condescending to me, and I'm like, "Why are you guys saying you're cool with this? Because this is not cool. This is just them giving you a little pat on the head and telling you
Yeah.
to go back to the kitchen." It was just really gross and interesting at the same time because we're human and we do weird things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And I think a lot of just women don't realize how much they're absolutely like they are I don't want to say I don't know what the word, but they are, I can't think of the right word, but um
perpetuating.
perpetuating the patriarchy. Absolutely. They're not even realizing, that they are also. So it's like, wait, we don't want to go back to 1950. Come on, we gotta, because I think they're unaware. I mean, some are very aware. I'm very aware of my rights being taken away and things, but some women shocks me that they are not aware. They do not realize because I don't think they realize how people fought hard for the rights we have that still I know
Mhm.
had far to go, and then we kind of been tried to be shoved back down again. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
There's
And
an awful lot of indoctrination that we need to overcome.
indoctrination. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Like, I
agree.
mean, I don't want to diss on Christianity, but there are a lot of amazing Christians, and there's a
Right.
lot of indoctrination in there, and that's just completely steeped in the patriarchy, where you're obedient to your husband, and you know have this specific place in life, and they're taking that into the rest of the world, where it's like,
Yeah.
are are you supposed to be there? Don't you think you have more? I don't know, but that's kind of what I'm seeing right now, and I just think it's a little bit ironic, the indoctrination that goes on that is actually then mirrored, or not mirrored, but projected onto the trans community, where we're indoctrinating other people into being trans, and that's just completely absurd.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Totally. Totally. Know what you mean by that. Okay, so what I want to know from you, like, I guess, okay, like there's gender, because I think people don't understand this also. There's your gender identity, which is completely different from your sexuality and who you're sexually attracted to. Like, I have found that I've had to explain that to a lot of people that they don't really understand that that's totally different. Do you know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
like,
And yeah, so gender is, I would, I like to think of it in terms of energy.
mhm,
It's a spectrum, and you may feel more masculine, you may feel more feminine, you may fluctuate during your life
mhm,
or from day to day, feeling more masculine today, feeling a little more feminine today.
mhm,
And some people don't identify as either, like, binary gender that we've put out there. They
mhm,
identify as somewhere in the middle, or don't want to have any kind of gender assigned. So that's one thing, and it has nothing to do with who they're attracted to. Some
mhm,
people may look, completely feminine as we define it in this country, in this culture, and they may be attracted to women, they may be attracted to men, they may be attracted to both men and women, they may not be attracted to anybody. So that's kind of the how that goes. I mean, it doesn't matter what your sexual characteristics are, you can be attracted to anyone at any time.
yeah. Thank you for explaining that on here. I appreciate that because I think that there needs to be just some basic education on just even that. And then I talk a lot about divine feminine frequency rising, and I am talking a lot about women empowerment, but also I'm not really talking about gender so much as, like you said, we all embody male and female energy. Even though I've identified as a woman, I've been, born a woman, whatever it is, I used to inhabit a lot of male energy and be a part of the patriarchy, I guess I'll say, or whatever. So, I don't know, to me, like, what does that mean to you when I hear a lot of women saying that the divine feminine frequency is rising? And then, like, how can men embody that frequency and also support women, to where help it rise, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Um, I would say that, as far as like the if you want to, and I think it's all on a spectrum.
Yeah.
The more feminine energy is more loving and nurturing. Do we want that loving, nurturing energy to rise? Absolutely. We
Yeah.
absolutely need more of that in our world,
Yeah.
because then the opposite, male energy is typically aggressive, war,
Yeah.
power, all of that, and when that's on the rise, that's not that's not doing our society, our world, any good, um, because it's just leading to more and more power hungry people destroying us. So feminine energy on the rise. Absolutely. Let's start leading from love. Let's start leading from creation. You guys are the creators in all things.
Yeah.
Let's let's embrace that. Let's raise that up as much as possible.
hmm I like that where you've shared about like leading with love too. And I know with your Million Hearts meditation, that's a lot about leading with love and having a world that leads with love. I mean, a lot of the problems in the world would actually go away if we did lead with love, right? And if our
Hmm.
people of power led with love. So I like that. Um, okay, what I don't want to run out of time is for you to share all the ways that you are a resource. Million Hearts Meditation, of course, that's everybody join, please. Kids can join in that, like family and every gender, every whatever. And then or I guess identification. But and you do work with people not in the LGBT community. I appreciate you shared that because I was wondering that. But then I want you to share about what resources are available for the LGBTQ community that you have. And if people want to work with you, also what you're offering. So people can find you.
People can find me at riverbraun.com is the
Okay.
most expedient way to do it. I do, like you said, work with the LGBTQ community. A lot of themes that I work with are um, early trauma, feeling like you don't belong, universal, whether you're transgender or gay or straight and wanting to be a painter and your parents want you to be a doctor. So much of that is universal. And
Mhm.
so I work with people in very trauma sensitive. So nothing that I am imposing on people to do. Everything is a voluntary uh, collaboration together. So we work with what you want to work with and how you want to do it. The things that I recommend, the tools that I recommend, are always optional. People can choose what feels right for them. And so I can do that with one-on-one coaching. And I am also developing a community called the Queer Resistance Collective. And that is a community that is centered around queer people who are looking to overcome past traumas to move forward with who they want to be, self-improvement, kind of a theme, but it's all in the mind-body space. So we do breath work, meditation, movement, and manifestation within that. And so I would like to have group coaching come out of that as we build the community a little more. So if people are interested in doing group coaching and having a community that supports them in that, that is in the works. I also run workshops, trauma-informed yoga. I am hoping to get a space where I can offer. I'm also certified in Y12SR, which is a yoga for 12-step program.
Oh,
So we
interesting.
welcome, yeah, we welcome anybody with any addiction that is wanting to kind of supplement a 12-step program that they're in, or even if they're not in a 12-step program, but being amongst people who are working through addiction and doing it in a more embodied manner through yoga. Um, I'm looking for a space where I can offer that on a donation basis. So I don't like turning people away who can't pay. So
Yeah.
everything that I offer is on a sliding scale. Um, so yeah, so that was the Queer Resilience Collective. You can find that either on my website or on Meetup.
Mhm.
And else, of
That's
course, a Million
amazing.
Hearts meditation. Yeah.
And I can't wait to hear more about that. I've never heard about that yoga, that particular method. So when I hear more about that. And then, okay, but I get so my final question here is like, how can people, as an ally of the LGBT community, how can people support at this time? What would you say is the greatest thing that people can do to support the LGBTQ community?
Obviously, keep loving people for who they are and keep speaking up when you hear something that is blatantly homophobic, transphobic, racist, anything like that.
Yeah.
Just call it out and say, well, actually, is that really what you mean? But just being able to just stand up and say, look, I don't tolerate that. speak some truth, just standing up because people do a lot of assuming when they're talking. And if their assumptions are challenged, they might start challenging their own
Oh,
thought
that's
processes.
yeah, that's great advice. Like you
Yeah.
said, just take a stand and don't allow that conversation to keep going too. It's like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't remember the quote. There's a famous quote about that, but basically how you're agreeing if you stay silent, right?
Yeah. But if you're silent, you're complicit.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. So, oops.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been such an honor to get to know you more, and thank you for all you're doing in the world. And I'm going to link everything in here too. And yeah, it's everybody come join Millions Hearts meditation and
Yes.
spread the word.
Thank you, Trish. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's great talking to you.
It's been a pleasure.